another routine outrage cycle, until Bill Maher flipped the script and exposed something deeper. Not just anger, but performance masquerading as principle. In one sharp monologue, he didn't just criticize the meltdown, he dissected it. The outrage mob wasn't reacting to reality. It was reacting to its own echo chamber. Real issues were replaced by viral moments, authentic concern swapped for algorithm-driven outrage. And suddenly, what looked like moral authority began to look like theater, loud, emotional, and strangely disconnected from everyday people. Maher positioned himself as the uncomfortable truth-teller in a room full of applause machines. He didn't attack beliefs, he attacked behavior. The constant escalation, the need to outrage each other, the inability to tolerate nuance, it revealed a system feeding on its own extremes. But here's the calm, surgical truth: outrage isn't power, it's often insecurity dressed up as certainty. And according to voting trends across recent election cycles, the louder the outrage gets, the more moderate voters quietly walk away.
They're not trying to outlaw cats, they're not eating them like Haitians. They just said they don't like them. That's allowed. People are allowed to have an opinion you don't share without you reacting. It's just a cloud. Let it pass. But no, that's not how a certain kind of people these days think. For them, having a phone to post from is like hosting a one-person episode of The View that never ends.
This wasn't just a cultural clash, it was a psychological one. People aren't just reacting to issues anymore. They're reacting to identity threats. When disagreement feels like erasure, outrage becomes survival. But Maher challenged that mindset, drawing a line between authentic activism and manufactured hysteria. Real movements build bridges. Fake ones burn everything for attention. And the audience could feel it, that uncomfortable realization that maybe the meltdown wasn't about justice, it was about validation. The most brutal part wasn't the jokes, it was the pattern he exposed. Outrage spikes, trends, collapses, then repeats. A cycle engineered not by truth, but by incentives. Social media rewards the most extreme voices, not the most accurate ones. Data from recent media engagement studies shows that emotionally charged content spreads faster than fact-based analysis. Maher didn't just call it out, he framed it as a system problem. And once you see the system, the outrage starts to look less like a movement and more like a machine. Still, there's a counterpoint worth acknowledging. Some of that outrage comes from real frustration. People who feel ignored, unheard, pushed aside. Not every reaction is fake. But Maher's argument cuts deeper. When real pain gets hijacked by performative activism, it loses credibility. The louder the performance, the weaker the cause appears. And that's the paradox. What's meant to amplify justice can end up undermining it. He shifted from humor to strategy without missing a beat. This isn't just about culture, it's about power. Based on exit polls and demographic shifts, voters are increasingly rejecting extremes on both sides. The middle isn't disappearing, it's silently regrouping. And while outrage dominates headlines, quiet decisions in voting booths are shaping the future. Maher's warning was clear: confuse noise for info. There's also a deeper emotional truth behind the meltdown. Outrage feels good. It gives people clarity in a complicated world. It turns uncertainty into certainty, doubt into righteousness. But that emotional high comes at a cost, because it replaces thinking with reacting. Maher's critique wasn't just political, it was human. When people stop questioning themselves, they become exactly what they claim to fight. The real vs fake divide couldn't be clearer. Authentic movements evolve, adapt, listen. Manufactured outrage repeats, amplifies, and punishes dissent. Maher exposed how quickly disagreement now turns into cancellation, how debate is replaced by labeling. And in that environment, truth doesn't win, loyalty does. But loyalty without truth is just noise with better branding. Looking forward, the consequences are already unfolding. If this cycle continues, public trust will keep eroding, not just in media, but in institutions, movements, even each other. Trends suggest a growing backlash against performative politics, a shift toward voices that feel grounded and real. Maher isn't just critiquing a moment, he's signaling a turning point. The question is whether anyone inside the system is willing to adapt before it collapses under its own contradictions. In the end, the meltdown wasn't just pathetic, it was revealing. It showed who's speaking to be heard, and who's speaking to be seen. Maher didn't destroy the outrage mob with insults, he dismantled it with clarity. And that's what made it land. Because when the noise fades, one question lingers. Are we reacting to reality, or just performing for each other?
Time nights